It was 7:30 on a Friday night. My dad was working late today, and he was going to get home at 1:30 a.m. Also, my mom was out of town for the week. The sun was only starting to set because it was summer and there was lots of daylight. I usually hang out with my cousins around this time, so I called them over, but they said they were busy, so I decided to watch TV instead. I was watching for at least an hour. After a while, it was getting late, so I turned off the TV and was getting ready for bed. That was when I realized my cat was staring out the window at something. Seeing this kind of freaked me out, so I slowly went to the window to see what he was looking at. When I got to the window, I looked in the direction he was looking, and I saw that he was staring at the dark part of the backyard. I decided to ignore it and to take a shower. After I was done with the shower and I came out, I looked back to where my cat was, and he was still staring in the same spot. He didn't even move. Now I started to really freak out, so I took a flashlight and shined it at the spot where he was looking. At first I didn't see anything, until I noticed an old lady crouched down next to a pile of wood in my backyard. My heart dropped. She had ragged hair and it looked like she was wearing a hospital gown. When she realized I was looking at her, she turned her head in my direction, but I quickly ran to my room and locked the door. I quickly called my dad and finally called the police. The police said to stay where I was and to hide in a closet, and so I did. After a while, I heard a knock at the front door. I knew it was the police, so I quickly ran to the front door and opened it. Before I could even open the screen door, I saw it. The most terrifying thing I have ever seen. It was the old lady staring there, with a giant smile on her face just staring at me. I jumped back and slammed the door shut. Just as she tried to open the screen door, I was able to lock the front door. I got this random boost of adrenaline, and I screamed at her that the police were coming. I ran back to my room, but when I was in the hallway about to enter my room, I heard it. The front door started opening. The noise the door made was the scariest noise I have ever heard. Instead of going to my room, I decided to take the door in the hallway going downstairs into the basement. As I ran down the stairs, I heard the old lady chasing me at full speed right behind me. When I entered the basement, she started giggling. I ran into the corner and hid there, because there wasn't much light down there, so she wouldn't be able to see me. At this point, I was shaking. Finally, I heard the police sirens in the driveway, and as I was scanning the basement, my heart dropped. In the corner on the other side of the basement, I saw the old lady staring at me with a giant smile. Her veiny eyes were wide open. I screamed as loud as I could to get the attention of the police officers. Then the lights to the basement turned off, and I heard a bunch of moving and her giggling. I thought I was going to die, but then the police officers broke down the basement door with their flashlights. That was when I saw the old lady crawling towards me at full speed. She also had her hair over her head. When she was in arm's reach of me, one of the police officers tased her and she fell to the floor. They put her in handcuffs. That was the most horrifying night of my life. After that night, I was never left home alone again. I can't imagine what would have happened if my cousins weren't busy and they came over to my house that day. It was around 8 o'clock on a windy Friday night. The sun was already going down when I was walking my dog with my brother in the woods. The woods happened to be close to my house, on the east side of town. We were following our normal path that goes straight through a small condensed part of the woods. All of a sudden, my dog started to stray off the path, and we got confused, as this doesn't normally happen. My brother and I started to follow our dog that was leading us deeper into the woods. This was also a part of the woods that we haven't been to before. We found a little hut made out of wood, showing evidence of another person being here. We didn't think much of it at that time, so we decided to look around and explore the hut that we found. Surprisingly, the dog started running in a different direction. My brother and I did not see anything, but the dog took off in that direction. I ran after the dog to make sure it does not get lost. When I finally caught up to the dog, I looked up only to not see my brother anywhere. After about 45 minutes of walking around, looking for my brother, I found him by a tree. He was looking very scared, like he had seen something. I walked up to him and told him that I found the dog. But then he told me that he got lost and saw an old woman, and he ran away because he was scared. Before he could even finish the sentence, our dog started barking again towards a weird-looking tree. But this time, behind the tree was an old woman with a wrinkly face holding up what looked like an axe. She was staring right at us, not moving at all. My brother and I both looked at our dog to try to stop him from barking. Once we looked back in the direction of the woman, she was gone. At this point, we realized we are not safe and we started running in the opposite direction. Once we stopped running, we could see the old woman behind a different tree. But this time, she started charging at us, running as fast as she could, holding her axe. Luckily, we were able to outrun the old woman, finding our way out of the woods. To this day, we still don't know who that was, but one thing is for sure, we are never going back to that wood trail again. Over the summer, I normally go to my cousin's house and stay for at least a month. They live in a very small town. Last summer when I was over at their house, there was a very foggy day. This was something I've never seen before. You could not even see 20 feet in front of you. So my cousin and I decided it would be a good idea to go bike riding in the fog around our town. After a little while, we decided to take off and ride our bikes to the high school. The fog now was a lot worse. You could not even see 5 feet in front of you. We were forced to ride our bikes very slow because we could not see a single thing. When I tried to put my bike light on, the fog reflected the light and I could not see anything. At some point, we must have made a wrong turn or something because we never found a high school, so we just decided to turn back around. We knew we were lost, so we decided to follow the road back in hopes of finding our way. By this time, the fog was starting to get even worse. It got to the point where we had to get off our bikes to make sure we did not crash into anything. As we were walking down the road, I heard my phone emergency alert go off. At the same time, my cousin's phone emergency alert went off. We both quickly read the message, which said, "Stay indoors. There's a killer walking around town. Due to the intense fog, there's no way to find the killer at this time." When we both finished reading the message, we looked at each other in fear. We knew we were in lots of danger, so we had to get home fast. We started riding our bike through the fog, hoping that we are going the right way. At some point while we were slowly riding, I accidentally took a picture. When I looked at the picture, I realized that we could see more of the road through phone pictures. The fog would not get caught in the picture, and we could see where we were going. This was very important, because with the pictures we could tell if anyone was in front of us, because we did not want to run into the killer. So my cousin and I started taking pictures every couple of minutes to make sure we were safe and on the right path. At some point, we made it to a long road. This road is a very dark path that leads close to our house. We knew we had to take this path to get home, even though it looked really scary and sketchy with the fog. This road is also right next to the train track. At some point, while we were riding on the dark road, I heard some rocks rumbling. My cousin and I stopped our bike and looked towards the rocks on the train track. That was when we saw a man walking on the train tracks. He was also holding some sort of axe in his hand. My heart dropped. I was so terrified I thought we were going to die. My cousin and I quickly got onto our bikes and sped off into the fog. We did not even care if we were going the right way. When we got to the end of the road, we took a right turn. That was when we reached our local park. My cousin suggested that we hide there till the man passes. We went under one of the playground sets and hid there. After a few minutes, we could hear metal banging coming from the woods in the park. We were very confused at first. That was when we realized that the same man was banging on the metal fence surrounding the park. We quickly jumped from our hiding spot and got onto our bikes, speeding away. This time we knew we were going the right way, so we sped towards my cousin's house. After a couple of minutes, we reached the house and escaped the man that was chasing us. To this day, I still wonder whether that guy was following us the entire night. Last summer, my family drove me to my cousin's house. They live in a large house in the middle of the country. I usually spend the summer months here with them. They have a lake and lots of woods to explore. I was a teenager at the time, and I loved to explore things. After a week of visiting my cousin's house, their parents had to run to the store to get some groceries. The store was located an hour away, so my cousin and I knew we would be home alone for a long time. Since it was raining outside, we decided to wait till it gets dark and play a game of hide and seek. This is a very popular game at my cousin's house because we play it every other day. Once my cousin's parents left, we turned off all the lights and we started playing the game. Since only my cousin and I were playing, the whole point of the game is to see who is the fastest to find the other person. We each had phone timers to see how long it takes to find each other. We had a quick game of rock, paper, scissors. My cousin lost, so he would seek first. I told him to go upstairs into the bathroom and count to 40. While I was looking for a spot to hide, I heard a small creak. It sounded kinda like a door opening. I was confused, but then I reassured myself that it was the old house noises. Either way, I went to check the front door to make sure it was locked. To my surprise, the front door was left unlocked. I quickly locked it and ran behind the couch to hide, because I heard the bathroom door open. My cousin had finished counting, and he was starting to look for me. I could hear him walking downstairs. After some time, he finally found me behind the couch. I was expecting him to show me his timer, to see how fast it took him to find me, but the first thing he asked me was if I was walking upstairs, because he heard footsteps. I told him that I was not, and together we came to the conclusion that it was the creaks from the old house. After a little while, we decided to continue playing hide and seek. I was the seeker this time, so I went into the bathroom upstairs to count. As I was counting, I heard tapping come from the upstairs. I knew it was my cousin. I was so confident that I could beat my cousin's time, because as soon as I finished counting, I ran out of the bathroom and started looking. I checked the rooms upstairs, and I just needed to check one more closet. I opened the closet and looked to my left. There was nothing there, but I could hear a faint breathing coming from my right side. I quickly turned to my right and yelled, "I gotcha." There I could see a man standing in the corner of the closet. He was hiding behind a giant box. I was terrified. I screamed as loud as I could and slammed the door shut, running down the stairs. I called to my cousin, telling him that there is a stranger in the house. He quickly responded from the bathroom downstairs. He unlocked the door and let me in. Then he told me that as I was counting in the bathroom, he saw a man open the closet door. My cousin got so scared that he locked himself in the bathroom. He also texted me, but I was so excited to find him that I did not check my messages. As we were talking quietly, we could hear walking coming down the stairs. We knew it was the random stranger. We decided to call the police just to be safe. As I was calling the police, I could hear noises coming from the other side of the door. Suddenly, we heard the man say, "Come out of the bathroom and play hide and seek." His voice gave me goosebumps. My cousin yelled at him, saying that we called the cops. That was when the man tried opening the bathroom door one last time. Since he could not open the door, he ran out of the front door into the woods, disappearing. When the cops finally arrived, we looked over the cameras that we have installed outside of my house. The cameras caught the man standing in the front yard, staring at the house. The worst part is that the cameras also caught the man opening the front door and entering the house earlier. After this experience, my cousin and I never played hide and seek again. The police never ended up catching the guy, but now we are making sure to lock all the doors in case the man ever returns. It was a regular hot summer day. My 4 friends and I wanted to go play hide and seek around the high school. I was 13 around the time. We wanted to play at night because it made the game more fun. After a little while, when the sun finally started going down, my friends and I gathered by the high school. We were all ready for the game. The rules of the game are simple. We are only allowed to hide around the high school. After a long time of arguing about who should be the seeker, my friend finally agreed. While he was counting, my 3 friends and I started running in different directions. Our only source of light was the phone flashlights that we had. These lights are also not the best, making it really hard to see. My friends and I always play around the same school because there's an abandoned small area which we can hide in. As soon as I took off, I already started walking in that direction. I knew I was gonna hide in the abandoned area. As I walked over to the abandoned section of the school, my heart was racing. I had a bad feeling. Either way, I shook off the weird feeling and entered the building. It was very dark inside, but I had my phone light. The light was able to illuminate the area. There was lots of broken desks and chairs. I quietly walked to the second floor using the creaky stairs. When I reached the top, I walked to the far corner of the building and hid behind a giant box. I turned off my phone light and just waited. After a little while, I heard the stairs creaking. I was so scared, but I thought it was one of my friends, also hiding in the same abandoned building. Soon the footsteps got closer and closer to the room that I was in. When the footsteps entered the room I was in, I froze in fear, waiting for my friends to find me, but that did not happen. The footsteps seemed to have stopped, and there was not a single sound anymore. I realized that it could not have been my friend, so I softly mumbled the word, "Hello?" That was when I heard loud footsteps coming closer to me. I quickly turned on my flashlight, expecting to see my friend. Instead, I could see a tall man dressed in all black walking towards me. I ran from behind the box and out the door, running down the stairs. Outside the abandoned house, my friend saw me. He asked me what happened. I told him the entire story of the man in the building. Just as I was going to grab my phone out of my pocket, I realized that I did not have my phone. I must have dropped my phone while running, I told my friend. By this time, my other 4 friends joined us, and we explained the story to them. The same instant, we heard a giant slam inside the abandoned building. It sounded like a door slamming closed. After a little while of not hearing any more noises, we all decided to go back to find my phone. We figured the man had left. As we all walked in the building, everything was quiet. We walked up the creaky stairs quietly. Finally, when we reached the room, I could see my phone flashlight, which was still turned on. But before I could walk in and get the phone, my friend stopped me. He gestured to all of us to run, so we all ran out of the building and left the area. Later that night, my friend told me that he could see 2 people hiding in the closet in the same room as the phone. We all realized that we were probably going to walk into a trap. I used to live in a small house in the suburbs. My house happened to be located right next to an abandoned house that no one used. This was actually a good thing, because I was able to live here for a few years without any noisy neighbors. During my last year of college, I lived here alone with my dog. I knew once I finished college, I would move away from here and find a better house. One day after my college class ended, I drove home and walked to the back door. On my way to the back door, I looked towards the abandoned house. The back door to the abandoned house was left wide open. I was very confused because no one came to this house in years. There was even thorns growing on the side of the house, and the windows were all cracked. The roof was falling apart, and the backyard was full of leaves and sticks. I did not really know what to do, so I just went inside, ignoring the open door. Inside, I fed my dog, but today he seemed extra weird because he kept on going towards the window where you can see the abandoned house. I knew something was off with that house, so I wanted to explore it. I called my friend that same day and told him to come over so that we can explore the abandoned house. My friend agreed to come over, but only after work. That meant that we would have to explore the abandoned house at night. I decided to go to the dollar store with my dog to buy some flashlights so that we are ready for tonight. As my dog and I passed by the abandoned house, he started pulling the leash closer to the house. Now I really knew something was up with that house, and I wanted to find out tonight. After buying the flashlights, I returned home and waited for my friend. When he finally arrived, I gave him a flashlight and we walked to the abandoned house. This house looked a lot more scary at night. We walked up the broken stairs to the open door and shined our light into the house. There was nothing there. We continued by walking inside the house. My mind was racing now, thinking about what could have opened that door. Either way, I continued, and we slowly explored the bottom half of the house. When we got to the stairs, I gestured to my friend that we should go upstairs and explore the second floor. As I was walking up the stairs, my foot fell through a step, and I stumbled, making a loud noise. My flashlight dropped down the stairs, making even more noise. After my friend helped me, we stood there quietly. That was when we heard walking, coming towards the stairs from the second floor. We knew there must have been a person living in the abandoned house, so we ran outside and ran back to my house. I quickly ran around the house looking for my dog. I finally found him staring out my window, towards the window of the abandoned house. There, standing in the window of the abandoned house, was a man staring back at me. His red eyes terrified me. My friend came to my room, and I told him to look towards the window. This time the man disappeared, walking further into the house. A few seconds later, we saw the man run out of the house and leave into the woods. To this day, I wonder how long the man has lived in that house, and how long the man has been watching me through that window.